Don't they have bishop g5 there? Uh-oh. Okay, I'm very worried. This looks to me like... Hello to the chicos! Hello to the chicas! Here we are for the last hurrah! Round 7 of the Texas State Championship, ladies and gents. This is still International Master Andras Toth, aka Chess Coach Andras, and I'm coming at you with the live commentary of the last round. This game is going to feature an opponent north of 2000, to be very precise, 2009, and he goes by the name of Advai Singhi. An opponent has arrived, and in fact he chucked out the e-pawn toward the opponent, e4. Best by test. We didn't really see too many d4 games, e4 being the go-to choice of Nelson's by white as well. And he seems to be contemplating life at the moment without playing a move. And now Nelson is also responding in kind with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3. Okay, so this is the 4-knight Scotch, or the 4 knights Rui Lopez if after knight f6, bishop b5 is played. That being said, as we have already noted it multiple times, our hero Nelson doesn't appear to like symmetry in general, and therefore I wouldn't be surprised if he stirred the game toward lesser known opening variations. Very little legroom to do so here, because apart from knight f6, pretty much g6 is the only move that black can play with the intention of giving a unique character to the game without risking too much. Bishop c5, for example, is a well-known mistake here on account of knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and then d4. Now d6 is a move that we have seen in a similar context from Nelson earlier on in this tournament when... By the way, he has played e4, e5 twice. Why am I keep on saying that he's a French player? Strange. Anyway, and I was already expressing my very, very strong dislike for this move for the exact same reason, so I'm not gonna too deeply repeat myself. It's passive, it locks in the bishop, and it allows white to immediately take control of the center and secure easy, healthy development, whereas black is definitely going to be struggling here to develop his pieces in a way that would at least satisfy my personal liking. But in general, black is bound to have some space issues, some development issues. It is an unnecessary burden to take on without any tangible slash understandable benefits. Like I did tell you, and I highlighted a lot of occasions throughout this tournament when Nelson showcased his incredible creativity, very often taking risks, very often taking even risks that I would consider just outright over the top. But this is the type of move that really is really mysterious to me, because risk by definition carries a potential for reward. d6 is not a risk, it's a compromise. There is no reward here. Anyway, d4 take, and bishop d7 played. This is once again very, very passive, and it gives also white a wide range of choices about how to proceed from here. Usually you will find that when your opponent is giving you basically a carte blanche, complete freedom to do whatever they want to do, then relentless aggression is the way to go. Bishop c4 is fine and playable, but this indicates that we are going to castle kingside, which in my opinion leads to quieter positions. In fact, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. And as such, it doesn't appeal to me as much. But objectively speaking, it's fine. g6. Okay, so we want to go kingside bound, rather fianchetto, I should say, which I approve of, by the way. It's a little bit more ambitious, and I like ambition. Bishop e3. This piece formation, by the way, is literally identical to the Sicilian dragon. So, for example, if our players here play bishop g7, let's say queen d2, knight f6, and then pawn f3, then we are literally in a Sicilian dragon, except that the pawn is here and not here. So take a mental snapshot of this position, right? which is very likely going to occur on the board, by the way. Yeah. And now work with me. So after e4, c5, knight f3, d6, take, 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 we are going to enter the Sicilian dragon. And tada! Same position, but with the pawn on e7 and not on c7. The skill to be able to recall patterns, layouts, pawn formations like this on higher level chess is absolutely imperative. Because when you know a structure, like I happen to know the dragon because I used to play it with both colors, you know the matching plans. And so your knowledge of that opening has a huge chance of paying off in a completely unrelated opening, which it now happens to be going straight for the exact same formation, minus the thing that the pawn is on c7 and not e7. And so this is where you begin comparing. What is the upside from my perspective? The upside is that there is no semi-open c-file. So when I tuck my king away here, I'm not going to be attacked on the semi-open file. Instead, the e-file is semi-open, but black doesn't really have any business to conduct there. So that's not too bad of a situation. In fact, that's an upside. The benefit for black by the way, why am I looking at this from black's perspective? Oh, sorry. The benefit for black from having the pawn on c7 rather than on e7 is that in some scenarios, I can start rolling these pawns up. Let me show you one idea. And then I can send the c1 as well, which in the dragon I don't have. But here I can push it forward, and when the knight goes somewhere, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. So you measure the pluses, the minuses, and then you adjust your plan accordingly. Now, apologies for starting off the game from the white's perspective, by the way. Of course, I was supposed to go black. And that's exactly what we are doing. So knight f6 is pretty much a needed move. Knight e7 could be considered, but the knight is rubbish on e7. The point of going to f6, apart from the fact that it's the more natural and the better move, is that it actually carries a positional threat, and that positional threat is knight g4. With this move, black can hunt down the dark squared bishop, or at least aim for it, and then the diagonal, the g7 bishop, would be an uncontested beast. So if white plays just a random move here and allows this trade, I mean, I'm losing material now, so I need to take back with the pawn. Just disregard the double pawns. The fact that they don't have a dark squared bishop makes this an absolute monster. And also, checkmating this king without having a dark squared bishop that can trade off this guy, very, very tough ask. Hence, knight f6 is the only move here really to look at, because it forces f3, thus giving up an extra move, castles, and then after queenside castles, we can begin our operation with knight e5, kicking the bishop and getting ready for rolling these pawns up. Still, I heavily prefer white here. Yeah, I was worried about this. It did look like to me like Nassim was contemplating knight g7 because that is the only alternative. So the optical appeal of the move is that it doesn't disturb the diagonal of the bishop. However, the reality is... Oh, wait a second. Hold on, gents. Actually, no, it's fine. The reality is that there is nothing to do on the diagonal for the time being after castles. Like, the only practical benefit to go this way is that I can take. And then I can take, and then I can do knight c6. But I can't do that because my rook is hanging. So then I would need to castle. And this is the point where I'm beginning to miss this knight a lot here. Because A, white didn't need to spend a move on f3. And B, now they can start launching this super thematic attacking idea. h4, h5, cracking the h file open, bishop h6 trade, queen comes in, mate. And the knight on f6 is much better poised to at least offer some resistance against this idea, because at least I'm covering h5. Strangely though, our opponent pretty much without hesitation played here f3. So this is where knowing the structure is actually hurting our opponent rather than helping him, because indeed he understood. Well, no, he didn't understand. He knew that he needed to play f3 against certain moves, but not all moves. Knight f6 had to be met by f3 because of knight g4. After knight e7, f3 makes absolutely zero sense. It's not a bad move. And this is, by the way, going back to my initial discussion about d6, this is another issue with Nelson's opening choice in general, that when your opponent plays stuff like this, which doesn't really fit into the scheme right now, we still can't hurt them because our setup is not ambitious enough. So we played a6, which, as I told you, is definitely suggesting some kind of b5 ideas. Our opponent is apparently applying for a membership in the Chicken Chess Club. Why would you offer here random trades like knight d5? This doesn't make any sense. Like castles, yeah? Just because a6 announces b5, it doesn't mean that castles is bad, right? So b5 you take, they take back, you pull the bishop back to b3, and it's all fine and dandy. I cannot pursue this attack forever without doing something with my king. For example, b4, knight d5. Now bishop g5 is already quite annoyingly threatening, and bishop h6 is on the cards too. I go here, simply bishop a4, and the attack has been stopped. And that's it. Although your engine would tell you that maybe bishop h6 is even stronger here. And after take, now queen g7, knight f6 check. This is already carnage. We just lost the game. Typical response on club level that when people play a move like a6, they don't castle here anymore because there's an attack coming here. Nope. Nah, that's not how it works. It is part of the plan, but you should not fear it. You respect it, but you don't fear it. So knight d5. Now I need to show you here something, which is one of the coolest things that I will ever show you in the 7 videos that you hopefully have watched. So knight d5, once again, total chicken move, offering a trade for Nelson's worst piece. Like, strategically speaking, this is a blunder. Nelson has got 4 pieces, of which the worst by far is the knight on e7, that has literally nowhere to go. Nothing sensible. And white goes like, hey, wanna trade? It's like, yeah? But check this out. If in this position after knight d5, I play bishop takes d4, then white has queen takes d4. This is a very, very famous tactical idea. And if knight d4, then knight f6 check, and out of nowhere, there is a mate on the board like this. This is a very famous trick that everyone should know. Now, I don't know if he's playing knight d5 with the hope of this. But of course, if I just take with the knight, then the trick doesn't work anymore. Not that I should, but it doesn't work. Optimal here for black is knight e5. Kicking the bishop, jumping in the center with a tempo. And now if bishop b3, then we take. And here I'm going to show you another sensational tactical trick. Very good, Nelson. Well done, knight e5. If ed, we have check. And when the pawn blocks, that... Oh, no, I don't have this, do I? Because of bishop d4. Oh, maybe. Queen d4. And no matter what takes, I have got a fork on the queen, yeah? Oh, no, it actually does work because I can take. So if bishop g7, I can take b3. That's awesome. And likely white is going to do something like check, king here, and then take back. And then black is up a pawn, but our king is very bad. There is a penetration here. Likely it's going to be a draw. But very cool motif. So yeah, knight e5 played. Bishop g5. Is that a move? Bishop g5. Knight takes c4. Queen e2. No one would find this idea below 2400, I would say. And that included our friend who just pulled back to b3. Opponent went back to b3. And as per indicated earlier, knight takes d5. And happy days. If bishop takes, we can go c6. Bishop goes back, we go c5. And now we are trapping a bishop. If instead pawn takes, then once again this check is really, really awesome. The downside of this check, which is why Nelson might refuse to play it, is because after bishop f2 our best move is queen h6, offering a queen trade, and we have got a repetition. Alternatively, we can just castle here. Because now bishop h6, I don't trust it that this is... well, first of all, there's a check here winning the bishop. So let's go castles first, sorry. And then now with the bishop on b3 and the pawn on d5, these attacking moves are actually effective. Because the bishop is going to get into a pickle very fast. Like this fast. a5, h4, b5, pickle time. Oh, sorry, a4, pickle time. Bishop is trapped. So a5 already is going to provoke a reaction. And if it's a4, then we can go after that pawn with queen e8. Now you can see that it's black calling the shots against the enemy king. And this is primarily because of the very, very cuckoo knight d5 that we played earlier. If a3, then I can consider a lot of breaks. I can go b5. I can even go c5. And after take, now we can play with the semi-open b file. The pawn is still rolling up. This is looking like $1 million. So yeah, 95. Okay, let me just do some housekeeping. Oh, actually, I only needed to promote one move. Okay, so bishop b3, and now Nelson is in the think tank. He played c5. Don't they have bishop g5 there? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm very worried. This looks to me like we might have blundered. Yes, we did. Am I reading the game correctly? Yes. Yes, unfortunately, bishop g5 is deadly. Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. And opponent played it instantly. That is tragic. Yeah, Nelson really, really messed this up. He needed to take on d5. And if bishop takes, then kick. If pawn takes, then, yeah, this castle scenario would have been so good. And by the way, if white castles kingside here, then once again, black has no problems because his bishop is firing at the back of this pawn. And so if I just play normal chess moves like rook e8, queen f6, queen f6 I have to be careful with because of bishop g5, but queen e7, it's all fine. It's all fine. And in fact, I can't even afford revealing the bishop's diagonal, because after take, now my pawns in the center can do lots of dirty things to our opponent. Whereas, yeah, this was just very, very careless. Like, it just feels wrong to play c5 here when this tension is on. And c5 basically secures this knight to be an absolute boss on an outpost. I am afraid that Nelson was guilty here of the assumption that just because it's attacked, it had to move. The irony is, and that's why this is a strange blunder, because even if he had reckoned with knight e2 and then c4, he should have seen that this is winning unless there is... well, actually, bishop b6 refutes this as well. But so does bishop g5. So what I'm saying is that there was no best case scenario for c5. And so he should have picked up on that somewhere along the way. Now, folks, this is all kinds of bad. In fact, I am going to put a wager down that Nelson is going to play in this position knight takes d5, giving up his queen. And after bishop takes d8, he's going to play c takes d4. The opponent is going to take on d5, and he's going to take on d8. What's more, this is what I would do too. So I'm not suggesting that Nelson is going to go Nelson and pull another crazy. No, this is his best practical chance. Because although he is going to lose a queen here, he is going to get 2 minor pieces for it. Now, 2 is insufficient. You want 3. But there are a few features in this position that makes me at least a 1 out of 10 optimistic that we are not totally out of the contest. And that is the fact that we have got a monster bishop on g7 shooting down on this diagonal, and that may grant us a degree of counterplay or play against the white king even if it goes here, this bishop remains very, very powerful on the diagonal. But objectively speaking, as you can tell from our best friend the bar, as in not the bar that we go to after the tournament, but the bar here on the side, it is not lying. Yes, so Nelson went for the queen sack. I'm happy. This is the only practical chance. Everything else would have been absolutely catastrophic. Bishop d8, rook takes back, correct. Opponent is going to take on d5 with the bishop. And then ed4. Yeah, dude has a bit of a spring in his, not step, but in his sit. Yep, pawn to d4, and now I'm going to anticipate castle's king side. Black's only chance here is to do something crazy, generate some counterplay, stir the pot, go nuts, yeah? So imbalances facilitate going nuts. When everything is level, symmetrical structure, symmetrical everything, no counterplay, then more material just simply wins, right? But when there is mess going on the board, then sometimes the materially shyer army, lesser in numbers if you will, can still cause an upset. Okay, bishop takes b7 was therefore not on my horizon. Don't know why. It's a free pawn, it's hanging. What's wrong with rook b8? I mean, it's either castles to complete development or rook b8. And I thought we could take this. Am I missing something? Okay, so castles, and then basically what white wants to do here is to just push the heck out of this pawn. And there's not an awful lot we can do about that with black. Trade the pair of rook, and then just go, 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 and queen. And here the two minors are completely insufficient counterplay against the queen. Especially since both of them are kind of too far away from this pawn. But the alternative is no better. After castles, bishop a6, we just lost 2 pawns for nothing. Okay, knight c4 played. This is a surprise to me, in the sense that I was a complete potato for not looking at it. It's a super obvious move. We want to land the knight on e3. I actually like it a lot. However, allowing the knight fork, friends. And now black is struggling because we can't castle. Mark my words, not gonna happen. Because this looks, again, crazy city. What I suspect is gonna happen, maybe queen e2? Maybe queen d3. Queen d3. So now we walk into knight b2 with a tempo, but then white can take on a6. And again, we are back to that normal, where white is gonna castle, and then the a-pawn is running unstoppably toward touchdown. So likely, Nelson is still going to opt for knight e3, favoring the fact that now the king can castle to neither side. Bishop b5 is threatened, and knight g2 is threatened too. Exciting. It's still not over. It is still not over. I didn't like bishop b7 in hindsight. It was too greedy. There was no need to take that early on. Yeah, knight e3 landed. It is the right way to play it because it creates more threats. It causes more problems. When you are down material, you always want to play moves that create problems. Every time you don't, you allow your opponent to step one step closer to the proverbial finish line. You can't let that happen. Create constantly. Create problems. Here again, the engine's favorite move is queen a6. Now that is not a move that one would play light-heartedly because it allows, again, the penetration and ultimately the capture of an exchange. But here, once again, these 2 pawns are going to prove incredibly powerful. Now I'm not going to wager what the opponent is going to do because I don't know. But he senses that things can escalate here and go out of hand. I disagreed with many of his choices in this game, the opponent that is. But in terms of competitive mindset and the way how he applies himself, he's by far the most composed. Now that's not quite the word, but he is smart in a practical way. He knows right now that although he's still winning, things are slipping out of hand unless he steadies the ship. And so you can tell that he's thinking more heavily than ever before because he's sensing the momentum. That is a telltale sign of a decent chess player. One that is no longer in the, oh, I'm a queen up, I'm just going to completely kill it and keep some blitzing out moves. No, he has sensed that, hang on a second, this knight went from here to here. I can no longer castle. There are threats all over the shop. Hold the fort, guys. This can't go on like this. And you need to catch this trend as early as possible so that it doesn't turn into an avalanche. And that's why he's spending his time here. I'm not suggesting he's going to play the best move, but the mere fact that he recognizes the critical point is a sign of a good chess competitor. And he played a4. Now, I don't like that move, but I don't hate it either. I understand what he says. He's saying, you can take whatever you want, in particular the g2 pawn, I can't care less. I have one agenda, which is to take your pawn on a6 and then promote this to queen. The only thing I don't understand about his choice about a4 is that wouldn't it have made more sense to take the pawn first, then get out of... Oh, I know why he did it. Because, and that's actually kind of smart. The reason why he started with knight with pawn here is because now after check, king here, knight here, he wants to take with the queen. Right? And now the bishop is optimally placed on b7 to support the pawn to come home. Whereas if he takes first, it's actually very clever. Then after here, knight f4, now the queen can't go to a6. The bishop is misplaced on a6. It would rather be on b7. So this is an inferior version of what could have happened in the game when the pawn is already on a4 and we have a queen on a6 and the bishop is here. Smart. Now, the downside of said smart move is that, why would I give up this pawn now? Can't I just go a5? Forcing king f2 castles and yeah, now I've got rook here. That's my concern about it, is that our opponent here tried to get the best of every world and I don't think it was available to him. So the immediate bishop take would have compromised the queen after knight f4 in the sense it couldn't have gone to a6. If we take with the queen, that allows this. But I think this was the way to go, the practical way, to give up the exchange, but back the two connected passes. So a4 is trying to be smart, but after a5, I feel I'm not sold. Now Nelson might get tempted to take the pawn and deny castling right and get a little bit closer to the white king. Yes. But now I feel like we are dancing to our opponent's tune because this is what they wanted. I would have preferred now to go like, nah, no pass pawn for you, buddy. King f2, castles, and take it from here. And now I may have this threat. The king is a bit insecure. Yeah, this would have been still a game, I reckon. If he then d5, let's blast it open around the king. Yeah, knight f4 is completely forced, no question. And queen a6 is gonna come, also no question. Yeah, pretty decent chess out of our opponent. I have to say that this guy is a level-headed customer. Once again, in the opening, I didn't like some of his decisions. In particular, knight d5 was a pale move, but overall, solid chess. By the way, I have a feeling Nelson is gonna go d3. I also have a feeling he shouldn't. He should castle here. 100%. Yeah, castle's played. Brilliant. Very good. The problem, of course, now is that the pawn is rolling. So we are on a timer. We have got about 4 moves before that pawn becomes the greatest threat on the chessboard. Yeah, immediately went about business. As soon as he arrived, he played a5. And off he goes again for a lap around the tournament hall or two. So now we need to play very ambitiously, very aggressively. Now you literally need to be like a fly who keeps on flying on one's face and you just constantly try to shoo it away and it always comes back. That's what black needs to do here. Just be the fly in your opponent's face and once again constantly create problems to solve. Any move where we don't create a problem, a step closer to inevitable defeat. F5 played. Like it. For the exact same reason. Wasn't on my horizon, but it aims to accomplish the exact same thing. Create problems. We are going after the king. Objectively, once again, and I want you to know this in case the bar is not obvious enough, we are lost here. But not lost. The opponent here still needs to navigate through a lot of challenges and obstacles before he can rest assured that he has it in the bag. It ain't in the bag yet. Rook e1 looks like a logical move to deploy some army. I suppose that's the idea behind playing Rook e1 here, by the way, that if takes, we can take back with the rook. And so the bishop is still supporting the pawn. Oh, Mr. Greedy. F5. And Mr. Greedy takes this. The purpose of the move is not the least to win a pawn. That's merely a byproduct of the move, literally. The main purpose of the move is to clear away from the pawn, so to vacate this square so that the pawn can roll in. The reason why he went to this particular square and not any other was not the fact that he captured the pawn. It was because this was the only move where the queen could move away with a tempo. That was the point. Now Nelson took, and I'm guessing we're going to take back with the bishop. Know that there is a discovery on the queen, but we can't really exploit that because none of the big pieces, in particular the king, is not on a white square, so we can't check it. Now Nelson is going to play d3 because that's what the position demands, opening up the other diagonal. Nelson went check. Yeah, I don't know about this, because after check king g3, I don't see the follow-up. Now we're desperate to put this bishop somewhere on this diagonal, but it's easier said than done. Maybe bishop h6 is the move. But then there is a check here. By the way, hello, for friends of endgame technique and smart chess, do you know what a very cool move is for white here? This. And boy would it sting. Because after takes, opponent takes this, and this pawn is unstoppable. I did tell you to avoid opposite colored bishops like the plague, but when you have got monster pawns like this running down, it's all over. This is a very realistic scenario actually where this game is headed. I didn't realize that this has now become a threat. Yeah, he does play bishop h6. I think, in all honesty, this is Hail Mary. Like, this move is played in the hope that your opponent doesn't see... Oh, that was dirty. The queen d7 sack. Now, don't get me wrong. It's by no means the only way to win the game for white. Like, I can just slide the queen away to b6 and get out of dodge, and once again the pawn is rolling. But practically speaking, this is the liquidation you want to deploy because it removes the possibility of a loss. Like, this is the textbook case when this game goes from 3 possible results to 2. Like, this is not losable by white. And good practical players tend to seize opportunities like that. When you can eliminate the loss from a chess game, that's always a huge achievement. Right, he went for queen d5 check. Now that doesn't botch the queen sack. After rook f7 he can still take. And I believe rook f7 is more or less forced, because if they move the king then we can... This one falls with check. But also note that after rook f7 I can just push. Because now bishop f4 doesn't win the queen, and also this is now pinned. So objectively speaking, I believe this is a stronger move than queen d7. Queen d7 just happens to be the cleanest win. Yeah, rook f7 played. Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay, sorry, I fast forwarded a bit and they played the moves. So rook f7 was played and the opponent just went a6. Like, he's just doing the caveman style, and I don't mean it with malice or with a negative connotation, but it's just poof, poof, poof. Hit them in the head with a club style of, I just keep going, man. I just keep going. Anytime I'm not threatened, I keep going. So now Nelson is going to go check, and Nelson is going to go here. Mr. Pythia, the fortune teller from Greece, ancient Greece. And the reason why he's going to do this is because now we are threatening knight f4. Like I said, you need to be this fly constantly flying around his opponent's face, creating problems. That is a small problem to solve. Calling it like a champ. I wish I could do it in a position where we are actually winning. Now, by the way, the queen sack doesn't work anymore because black can retain the piece with a check and then take back on d7. Queen f7 may be a win because the pawn is unstoppable. And then rook f1. Wow, cheeky. But we have a mate threat. Yay! Shout out for mate threat. Queen, checkmate, game over. Oh, actually it's not mate, dang it. But black is now winning because of this. Ay. Nice. But of course after d3, if white takes, then white is winning here. Not gonna happen, but cool story there. Wait! It did happen. It did happen. He's gonna play a7, check, king f1. That is very cool. So yeah, a7 allowing the queen to come off, king f1, and now after knight d5, bishop d5, there's a queen coming here and there's a pin on the f7 rock. So bishop c6 may be the move, and then after bishop takes I have to sack the rook. That's resignation. That was very nicely done by the opponent. He did manage to fend off all the little tricks that Nelson could throw at him. And in the end, the smart insurance policy in the shape of the a-pawn has paid incredible amounts of dividends. So this is what we're currently looking at. Bishop h3 doesn't make anything any better. After king here, there is no benefit to the check, because after take I still cannot take d5 on account of the new queen arriving and in fact checking down the rook. Yeah, Nelson is trying to calculate everything, but there is nothing, unfortunately, to be found in this line. Yeah, so Nelson accepted the capture. Bishop takes, and he's gonna play bishop c6, maybe. I don't know what else. Yeah, bishop c6, bishop takes. And unfortunately, we have to give up, everybody. Maybe he's gonna play some kind of d3 trick. Like, let's say, take, and then d3. Which is nearly good. The problem here is that once I go back home and we take, they can just play king e2, and white is up a full rock. So losing an exchange for the last asset, which was the c2 pawn, is more than acceptable. And this is now completely resignable. Yep, Nelson took on a7, rook takes back, d3 coming, 100%. Nothing else makes sense. Yeah, opponent knows, of course, that this was coming. No surprise there. And once again, rook home, unfortunately, seals the deal. If d2, then king e2, and we don't even get a queen. dc, king e2, and that, I think, is going to be the end of this game. Yep, already on the board. So rook a1, dc, king e2 played. This was all very predictable. And now bishop f4, trying to maintain the assets again. But white can just go after the pawn. Nelson obviously is banking on a check. So what we want is, as in what black wants here, is to throw in a check, forcing the king back to the back rank. And for that reason, white is going to play rook here. And then it's still a little bit of a fiddling around with rook d2 here, takes. And now bishop e4 is not yet playable, because then black regains everything after take, and rook check. So first we need to go king g1. And now, unfortunately for Nelson, we have nothing left in the tank to play for. We must keep the rook on the second rank, but after bishop e4, the c2 pawn perishes, and with that, all hopes as well. But shout out to Nelson. Again, he's playing such cool moves, even in dead loss positions. Like, this actually makes me think about how to win with white. It's a challenge. So he's still not going away. He's still posing the most annoying problems to the opponent. And that I really admire. Yeah, opponent plays best move. Rook d2, king f1 is going to be played 100%. And then king g1. Like, shout out to both competitors because they really brought the best out of each other. From Nelson's perspective, it's not a happy story because we blundered bishop g5, and so we were fighting in this game throughout the entirety of this game from behind. But Nelson kept on asking question after question after question, and the opponent just kept on coming up with the answers. And that's what quality chess looks like, really. And as such, if it were not for the negative outcome, this would be my favorite game of the tournament. But because of the very, very unpleasant, unfortunate blunder early on, I really can't do that because we are Team Nelson, right? So it's definitely going to be that that crazy French black mat Demer gambit where he went bishop h6 and then rook f7. I think it was round 3 or 4. That is our favorite game from the tournament. I'm already keeping the rook on h2. He hasn't played it yet, but trust me, he's going to. And he actually has found bishop e5. Wow. Once again, asking the hardest question comparative to the position. Oh man, the heart breaks. The heart breaks. To be fair though, rook check wins too, with the idea of bishop a4. And surprisingly, there is no rook d1 check because the bishop is also covering it. X-ray motif again. So I can just take, and take. But our opponent already blitzed out bishop a4, which is the other winning move here. What did Nelson do here? Oh, he took on h2 now. Right, okay, so, I mean, I can't blame him. Objectively speaking, this is still a smart choice. Oh man, the opponent is so on point. I can't even explain it. He's already playing it. So the reason why this is still a smart cookie move is because if rook c2, then we have got the rook check down. Right? If I take with the bishop, then bishop takes b2 is playable, although it doesn't win. But let me get to that in a second. But our opponent immediately blitzed out here. The point of this move is that no matter where Nelson goes with the king, I feel like there's something on my face. He's gonna give a check with the rook first and then take with the rook. And then there is nothing to check down. Very smart play. And once again, kudos to the opponent. He really, really played a very solid chess game. Yeah, king g7, rook check coming on a7, exactly. And he's gonna take c2 next. And as you could see, he now keeps on looking up at Nelson. Kind of a passive-aggressive way to say that, time to resign, buddy. He's doing it in a manner that, in my opinion, is acceptable. But yeah, this is well and truly over. We're down a piece and nothing to rook rather, excuse me, nothing to show for. We went check, king back, check, king back, and now after check we're going to go king e2. Yep. Played. I'm gonna just skip now because we are truly... Like, the contest is over. The contest is over. Bishop g8 is a move to win the h7 pawn. Yeah. Already played. Very good. By very good, I mean it's very sad that we are losing, but very good chess by the opponent. Yep. King g5. And I would take with the rook. The reason for this... Actually, I don't even know. Rook c5. Oops. I missed that completely. Wait a tick. So king f4. Doesn't that lose the bishop? Ay, 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 ay. Yeah, nah, this is too good. Like, any capture on h7 was fine, but this was absolutely classy. And now check. And now we have to kiss goodbye to the bishop. This is where Nelson is going to resign. Nope. King back. Rook takes. He's running off again. Oh boy. Rook b2. King up, I guess. Stay on your chair, buddy. King takes. And rook e7. Setting up the ladder mate, I think it's called. So you have to come back home, and then the rooks just come in on the 7th, or come and trade off the rook, or bring the king in. Myriads of ways to get through. And yeah, this is the end of it. This brings us, guys, to the end of the recaps of the Texas State Championship, where we followed our friend Nelson throughout the competition with my commentary. I would like to thank everyone for watching all of these videos. If you watched all of them, or if you just watched one or two, thank you very much. I really appreciate it personally, and I'm pretty sure that Nelson is also very grateful for you guys watching this. It was a very, very fun experience for me to observe these games, obviously, and you could perhaps at times tell that I couldn't really help but have my chess coach hat on at all times. And even as a conclusion, I am inclined to leave this 7 videos with a kind of message, I suppose, for Nelson, for a want of a better word, or rather a bit of a talk about, okay, so where do we go from here? And based on the general outlook of all 7 games, I would say as a coach that if I were Nelson's coach, I would go like, mate, we really, really need to work on your opening repertoire for both colors, but dominantly for black. It seems to me that there are some gaping holes. For his level of chess to play stuff like d6, it's... yeah, like I said earlier, it's not even risk. There is no reward. Like, we are playing inferior moves just for the sake of trying to go off the trodden path. He is way above that level where that is possible strategy. And so he needs to invest time and energy, if the goal is to, make the next step forward, into investing heavily, particularly in terms of time, into learning more mainline openings and go down that way. That being said, if the idea is simply to play very, very fun, exciting, original, enterprising chess with zero care for the results, then no adjustment needed whatsoever. Because he does have the skill and the mind to play like that, and the openings he plays definitely support that kind of chess. But if the goal is chess growth, then for where he is now, his current openings are not going to cut it. It's as simple as that. I hope that doesn't sound too negative. I would like to stress that I had a jolly good time watching these games. I learned a lot of things from Nelson, and I'm saying it with absolute humility. His absolutely crazy tactical ideas just re-sparkled in me that the chess player that I always enjoyed to be the most, that sacrificial beast where we just throw in the kitchen sink and we go after that king, and it's spectacular, it's flashy, it's checkmate in the end. And lately I have noticed in myself, although I play very little apart from some rapid and online blitz, that I have stirred a bit too much away from that kind of chess in pursuit of playing sound and unbeatable, if you will, or rather very sturdy chess. So for that, I'm very grateful. And I'm also definitely very grateful for this opportunity. And without going on for a too long rant, I'm going to call it now. Thank you very much again, guys, for watching us. If you would like to do me a favor, please go ahead and check out my channel, Chess Coach Andras. You will find me there. Once again, shout out to Nelson for allowing me this opportunity. Please don't forget to leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't done so to both of our channels. And I hope to catch you in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye.
All right, guys, that's it. I am not happy with how I ended this tournament. Ended on a blunder, essentially. It was just a blunder, and the rest of the game, I mean, yes, we played the rest of the game, but really it was over after the blunder. I'm not happy with myself at all. You know what happened? I'll just be honest with you. Let me flip the board so you can see from my standpoint. I was like mentally just done. Like, that previous game was so long, 4 hours. I was just drained, and I just was not thinking clearly. And I don't know, right here, I'm like, oh, cool. I trapped the bishop. C5, C4. Let's do it. didn't even think that maybe white just ignores me and does something more powerful. Never even crossed my mind until I saw it. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some other stuff like F4 to trade pieces. So like, for example, I think I looked at bishop h6, which is funny. I looked at bishop h6, but I didn't look at bishop g5. Like, what's wrong with me? Anyway, I was thinking like maybe they move the knight and then they play like f4 to just trade pieces. And I thought this was going to lead to some good positions for me. And so, yeah, totally. The other thing that I was going to do was just trade and then castle. And then, yeah, Stockfish, I'm totally fine. I've got an equal position. The game goes on, but I'm very happy with this. That's all I had to do. I'm telling you guys, playing so many long games, it mentally wears you out. And at the end, you make bad decisions like that, right? And that's what happened. And I don't know. I don't know how to get past that. I mean, I played 7 kids. I feel like they're all underrated. I feel like all my opponents are so underrated, which I don't really, maybe that's just because I'm old and like I've just been out of the game for so long. That's why it feels that way. Or maybe they are underrated. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, overall, I think we had some interesting games. Hopefully it was exciting for you guys to watch. Yeah, I don't know. Disappointed with how I finished, obviously, but I had fun and yeah, I had some interesting games. So I'll see you guys in the next one.